Hi everyone, hi dear listeners. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who followed me for the past weeks, months. I really appreciate it. And let's start our another story on storage unit auctions and let's have fun. The summer heat in Columbus, Ohio can be incredibly unforgiving, especially when your job is fixing broken air conditioning units on hot rooftops. Dan was 38 years old, a hardworking single father who spent his days covered in sweat and mechanical grease to provide for his 10-year-old daughter, Mia. He wore his standard work uniform, a modern, breathable athletic vest over a t-shirt and a pair of heavy-duty cargo shorts, and he never complained about the long hours. But when the family dentist handed him a treatment plan for Mia's necessary braces, Dan felt his stomach drop. His honest blue-collar paycheck was already stretched to the absolute limit, just covering rent and groceries. He didn't need a winning lottery ticket or a miraculous windfall, but he desperately needed a practical way to earn some extra money. Relying on his mechanical skills, he decided to spend his Saturday morning at a local storage unit auction, hoping to find some broken appliances or used tools he could repair and resell. The atmosphere at the auction was fast-paced, slightly tense. Most of the buyers were professional flippers, hunting for quick, easy cash like abandoned electronics, gold jewelry, or designer clothes. When the facility manager finally cut the lock off a dusty unit at the very end of the property, the crowd leaned in, only to immediately groan in disappointment. The front of the room was completely blocked by a massive stack of heavy truck tires, a faded red mechanic's tool chest, and several large, heavy wooden crates. Deep in the back shadows, a bulky, unrecognizable shape was covered by a heavy, dirty canvas tarp. The professional buyers quickly walked away, muttering that hauling away heavy scrap metal was a guaranteed way to lose money. But Dan was a mechanic. He saw the world differently. He recognized the brand of the red tool chest and knew how much it weighed. While everyone else saw a back-breaking chore, Dan saw potential. He placed a quiet, confident bid and won the entire room for $750. Well, that's pretty much like expensive for this type of a unit. I mean, what do you think? Is it? And I just wanted to have this comment on the massive truck tires. From what I know, these things could be expensive because it's tires. It's not like something cheap, especially if it's like some from massive truck or something like that. It might cost like $300 for one pair or even $500 for one pair. I'm not sure, maybe more. So he definitely already winning something. When Dan returned later that afternoon with his own pickup truck, he began the slow, methodical process of unpacking the unit. He started with the heavy red tool chest. As he slid the metal drawers open, he realized he was standing in what used to be a master craftsman private sanctuary. The chest was packed tightly with professional-grade snap-on and Mac tools. They were older models, but they had been treated with incredible respect. Every wrench and socket was perfectly wiped clean of oil and arranged meticulously by size. Dan knew instantly that the tools alone were worth 3 times what he paid for the entire unit. You see? That's what I said. But the most important discovery was resting in the bottom drawer. Dan pulled out a thick, heavy 3-ring binder filled with hundreds of handwritten notes, faded Polaroid photographs, and carefully organized receipts. He sat down on a wooden crate and began to read. The previous owner had been an elderly gentleman who had spent years slowly restoring a classic vehicle, bolt by bolt. Sadly, the dates on the receipts just abruptly stopped a few years ago. The older gentleman had passed away before finishing his beloved project, and his grieving family had eventually stopped paying the storage bill, leaving his dream locked away in the dark. This is so sad. Feeling a deep sense of respect for the man's unfinished labor of love, Dan walked to the back of the concrete room and gently pulled away the heavy, dust-covered canvas tarp. He fully expected to find a rusted old tractor or worthless, stripped-down frame. Instead, his breath caught in his throat. Sitting perfectly balanced on wooden blocks was the original complete steel body of a late 1960s Ford Bronco. For anyone who remembers that era, it is an absolute icon of American automotive history. I'm sorry, I might be a little bit young for that, but I'm pretty much sure that's something really worthy. Please leave a comment if you know what they are talking about. And it was not rusted or rotting. The older gentleman had already completed the most grueling physical work. The metal body was perfectly sandblasted down to the bare steel and coated in a smooth, flawless gray primer, completely ready for a fresh coat of paint. Then rushed over and pried open the heavy wooden crates resting near the tires. Inside, carefully wrapped in layers of old newspapers and bubble wrap, was the rest of the puzzle. He found the shining, polished chrome bumpers, the original glass headlights, the steering wheel, and the vintage dashboard gauges. It was a complete, highly sought-after classic restoration project just waiting for someone to put the pieces back together. Well, at this moment, I think this abandoned storage unit just happened to be in the right hands, and I'm happy that exactly this man bought it, and he found this thing inside, and he might complete something that the previous owner, the previous man started, and definitely something not just worthy as a money, but it's something like worthy like as a, you know, thoughtful and soul project, if you know what I mean. Dan knew that trying to quietly sell a vehicle body without the proper legal paperwork was a terrible idea that only led to trouble. Because he was a responsible adult, he did everything strictly by the book. He took the official auction receipts to the storage facility manager and then drove straight to the Ohio Department of Motor Vehicles. He waited patiently in the line and filled the proper paperwork for storage lien, legally proving to the state that he had purchased the abandoned contents of the unit. The clerk warned him it would be a slow process, but Dan didn't mind. He wanted to ensure the car's history was preserved properly. It took several weeks of patient waiting, but the state eventually mailed him a clean, legal title for the classic truck in his name. With the official paperwork securely in hand, Dan did not list the vehicle on a random internet site to haggle with strangers. He reached out directly to a local classic car restoration club in Columbus. When the club members, many of whom were older gentlemen themselves, saw the pristine condition of the Bronco and read through the careful, loving notes in the binder, they were deeply moved. An older collector named Henry, who remembered watching those exact trucks roll off the assembly line when he was a young man, happily offered to buy the entire project for $18,000. He promised Dan he would finish the original owner's dream exactly the way it was intended, then accepted the offer with a warm handshake. He kept the specific tools he needed for his own daily HVAC work and sold the duplicate wrenches to his co-workers for an additional $2,000. Okay, I was quite close, but not really. So our man is not finishing the previous owner dream, but the other one will, I hope. Because this is something that, you know, it has soul inside. It's very thoughtful thing to do. But I'm not sure he get enough money for that vehicle. I mean, $18,000, is it really the price for that vehicle? I thought it would be more than that, like 40 or 50. A few weeks later, Dan was sitting on his front porch with a warm cup of coffee, enjoying a quiet Saturday morning. The front door opened and his daughter Mia walked out, giving him a huge smile that showed off her brand new braces. Dan smiled back, feeling a weight of completely lifted from his shoulders. He hadn't found a chest or private gold or won the lottery, but he had found exactly what his family needed. The $20,000 paid for Mia's dental work in full, completely cleared out the remaining loan on his work truck, and allowed him to start a solid college savings fund for his little girl. The older man's years of loving hard work did not end up rusting away in a scrapyard. It went to someone who would finally bring it back to life on the open road. And in return, that forgotten labor of love gave a hardworking father the exact peace of mind he had been praying for. It was a beautiful reminder that sometimes the best reward simply comes from respecting the past and being willing to do things the right way. That's the end of the story. Well, it starts kind of not really knowing what he will do and what's inside that storage unit, and it ends very well. and I'm happy for him, I'm happy for his daughter. And if you do like the video, please give me some thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button. And I see you next time. Goodbye.